What's happening, guys? It's your boy NUNZI here. I'm super excited to walk you guys through my favorite lower body exercises on the Smith machine. The Smith machine is my favorite machine for so many reasons. First of all, it's going to create a stable environment. I heard this line once and I love it. Stability improves the ability. So a stable environment is going to improve your ability to perform the lift. Now, a couple things I do want to mention. There's a lot of different Smith machines in a lot of gyms. This is a great Smith machine, and I'll tell you what a good Smith machine is. If it can go all the way down to the ground. So this is a sign of a great Smith. As you can see, it goes all the way down to the ground. Sometimes, I don't know why, Smith machines will stop about right here. Now, that's not the end of the world, but you're not going to be able to do the hip thrust, the single leg deadlifts, or deadlifts in general. But usually most Smith machines will go all the way down to the ground. And of course, you want them on more of a straighter line. Sometimes some Smith machines have these crazy angles, which I'm not a huge fan of. But this machine has a pretty straight line. It's a pretty vertical line. So this is gonna be great. So let's start with my favorite exercise, the wide sumo squat. All right, guys, we're gonna break down the squat here on the Smith machine and why it's so superior. First of all, this is gonna be my favorite part of using the Smith. It's this ability right here, is to bring my feet out in front of me. This is crucial when squatting. So let's just go through some basic mechanics here. When people squat, what generally happens is their knees go forward and their heels come off the ground. We don't want this to happen. When we're squatting, we really want to create this 90-degree angle to sit in it. Once again, this is a great reason why the Smith machine can help with this, because I'm going to be able to put my feet out in front of me and I can essentially lean back and do a lean back squat method, just like this. So as you can see here, my feet are out in front of me. I'm going to be able to even hold on to the machine to create this 90-degree angle as I drive up through the heels. Wow. What incredible glute engagement. This is super easy on my knees. And I can do this with any squat stance. If I go from a wide sumo squat, if I bring it into more of a standard squat, if I want to come in with a ballerina squat, the big key here is having those feet in front of you and to really make sure you're engaging through your heels. So squatting on the Smith is amazing. Make sure you have your feet in front of you. You create this 90-degree angle. That's how you're gonna win on the Smith. The lunge. The lunge on the Smith, once again, is absolutely superior. There's many ways that we can do a lunge on a Smith machine. So the first is just a standard lunge. This is where we're gonna be able just to have our foot in forward like this, leg back. Once again, key rule here in the lunge is this 90-degree angle. You always wanna make sure you're creating a 90-degree angle when you're lunging and you're lunging back. Once again, the bonuses of the Smith machine is because it's a stable environment, it's gonna allow me to set myself up in a way that I'm gonna be able to really target the glutes and the quads in creating this 90-degree angle. One of the things I love about the Smith as well is being able to hold on to the sides of the machine so I can get that extra stability and I can really focus on driving through the glutes. So this is the lunge. Easily can set this up into a split squat, grabbing a bench just like this and rolling it into the Smith just like this here. So once again, when doing a split squat, it's all about proper setup. You want to maneuver the bench so your back leg is going to be, or your toe is going to go into the bench as so. And the same rule applies as we come into the split squat, driving through that glute, driving through that heel. So once again, you guys can see the mechanics here. I'm creating that 90-degree angle and I'm driving up through, keeping this core tight, that back flat. Oh yeah, beautiful. So lunging and split squatting is absolute must on the Smith machine. Get it? Smith RDLs, what an amazing exercise this is. Once again, in the Smith, just allows for a really smooth motion. I always prefer the wide sumo RDL in this. So this is where I'm gonna have my feet out nice and wide. The idea here is we're keeping those knees kicked out as we get a nice stretch on the way down. I'm really keeping the bar close to my body. I never wanna have the bar, you don't wanna create this distance. You really almost wanna be snugged up there. So your bar is touching your quads and your shins as you're coming down. The big thing in these RDLs, your glutes are staying high. A lot of people drop them. We don't want to drop it. We want to keep the glutes nice and high as we drive up through the motion. We can do also standard deadlifts as well. I find with the Smith, it just allows for a really smooth transition. And also it allows me to really keep my form on point It's also gonna be a lot safer because if at any point I need to rack it easy like this. One of the other reasons why I love doing it in the Smith is because I don't have to bend all the way down to pick it up. I can actually unload it from a good position, so it's not gonna hurt my back. And just so like this. Incredible exercise, very smooth. I love the RDLs on the Smith machine. The Smith single leg deadlift, maybe one of my favorite exercises to do in the Smith machine for so many reasons. First of all, doing a single leg deadlift on its own is very challenging. Body weight, even with a dumbbell, it's very challenging. But in the Smith machine, it's gonna allow for a really stable environment. So the same mechanics apply. I'm gonna pick my left leg here to start out. We're gonna have basically the bar right over the shoelaces. This is important. You never wanna have it too far out. Like I said, you're keeping that bar nice and tight to the leg the entire time. We're gonna have slight bend in the knee. The back leg is just gonna shoot out like this, and we're gonna get that nice deep stretch. Now, as you can see, look how tight that bar is to my leg. Really important. You don't wanna drop your glute. You wanna keep that glute high, and you wanna hit about that mid-shin level. I find going deeper is just kind of unnecessary and puts a lot of strain on the lower back. I hit that mid-shin, and at this point, I thrust up and drive through the motion. That's perfect. And what an absolute burn this is. Oh, you can't really beat this single leg Smith deadlift, guys. It's one of my favorites. But once again, you need to have a Smith that will allow you to go pretty deep there. So this is an absolute must, one of my absolute favorites, guys. Practice it because this will get you peaches. The Jefferson squat on the Smith machine. What an absolute dime this is. You don't see this one too often. So check it out. This is a really interesting exercise. Now, the whole idea here is it's kind of mimicking a lunge. So I'm stepping over the bar. I'm creating this 90-degree angle with my front leg being forward and my back leg being angled out at 90 degrees, okay? You could choose an over-under grip. So if you wanna go like this or like this, it doesn't really matter. Now, the whole idea here is that this is the primary working leg. This little back leg kind of works as a kickstand. What you're doing is you're lunging through the front leg as your back leg is supporting you. You're keeping that core tight, your chest up, and you're driving right through the motion. Once again, because we're in the Smith, this allows for a much controlled environment. Oh, I can really feel it and focus it on that working leg. And boy, oh boy, what an incredible exercise. Obviously, make sure you don't go too high because that won't feel really good, but you're taking that nice, slow eccentric as you drive up through the heel. So the Jefferson squat in the Smith is absolutely amazing. One of my favorites as well for that glute isolation. Saving the best for last, guys, the Smith machine hip thrust. This is hands down my favorite glute exercise. There's no argument. I love it in the Smith because it's really easy to set up. The barbell hip thrust, you know, it's kind of a pain, and the glute hip thrust machines are no good in my opinion. So, setup is key in this. You want to make sure you have your bench or your box or whatever you're using to support your upper back. You always want to make sure you're resting the bar right on that groin level. Always have a hip thrust pad. Always got to have a hip thrust pad. So the key here, all right, is finding that good foot position. You never want to have your feet too far out like this. That's going to put a lot of more emphasis on the hamstrings. So if your feet are out, you're not going to get enough glute recruit. If you have your feet too close like this, as you can see, my knees are leading the way, which is going to make my knees scream. So you really want to find that sweet spot where it's creating this 90-degree angle. As you've noticed, 90-degree angles are very important in squatting and lunging and hip thrusting, and you want to make sure you're set up. And the reason why I love the Smith machine is because I can get my whole body set up perfectly before I start the movement. So now I'm in a good position. We're going to unrack it. All right, we're going to slowly come down. I'm not going super low like this. You don't need to go that low. You're going about maybe a foot down to half a foot down. And at this point, you're engaging your glutes and squeezing right up through. Slow and controlled. Once again, I love in the Smith machine just being able to hold on to stuff. I'm always bracing myself as I'm driving through the movements. And this is such an amazing exercise. I'm telling you right now, I'll spend a whole glute workout on the Smith machine hip thrust, just really getting that peach to fire. So this is my favorite. Practice makes perfect. But once again, one of the great things about the Smith, easy to get in, easy to get out. So there you have it, guys. Those are my favorite lower body exercises on the Smith. I'm telling you right now, the Smith machine is the piece of equipment. If your gym has a good one, get on it, use it. for your squats, for your hip thrusts, for your deadlifts. It won't disappoint. Stability improves the ability. I know you can do it. If you're not excited, get excited. Peaches ahoy.